Pauline, what do you think about this this person who was a leaker from the mining industry to these protesters, the idiots that have been gluing themselves to the ground in Queensland? Part of a broader movement where climate change is going to be a big thing this week. But what do you think about Channel 2 running this person, talking about this person, essentially trying to make the mining industry even more paranoid that they have a rat from within?
That's right, Paul. Actually, it's encouraging people to give their plans, what the company is doing, all the procedures, what is happening, and I think it's so wrong. If this person does get caught, will the company have the right to actually sack them? And I think that's going to be extremely hard, because it's very hard to sack anyone. On what grounds? Because they leak some information, unless they've signed a confidentiality agreement. But I think it's so wrong. You know, they have their views about it. Then why are they working with their company? Why are they working with Adani if they feel that way? So they've infiltrated the company, or the company's subcontractors that are going to work for Adani, just to undermine and try and destroy the subcontractors. They have no regards for the workers. They don't care about anything. The whole thing, Adani, has been passed by the state governments, by the courts, by everyone, and yet they're continuing to go on with this. Adani will bring indirectly about 6,500 jobs. When it is up and running, about 1,400 jobs. That is so important to Queensland. It really is. I wish people would understand this.
I mean, Stephen Conroy, again, I think there'd be a lot of people sitting at home who have the obvious thing here, which is, if you don't like it, why do you still work for it? Now, I understand we have this discussion about people inside the bureaucracy who want to drop information about what a nefarious thing or an evil thing the government is doing, but somebody working for a freaking mining company? Why? I mean, if you've got a direct line to the environmentalists, quit.
Yeah, well, look, I'm not sure that any sort of whistleblower legislation will cover someone in this circumstance. It's not that they're revealing bad behaviour or illegal behaviour potentially. This is just about straight up economic sabotage. I'm surprised that the person is willing to out themselves like this. Clearly they've got an ego. If they want some of this sort of publicity, they almost want to be caught to become a martyr. But this is just straight up economic sabotage. I'm a bit more bullish than Pauline. I think the person will easily be in breach of their employment contract if they're found out. But the continual campaign against Adani, well, we've had a recent test of the public opinion around this sort of issue, and Labor got 25% of the vote and the Greens got about 9%. That's a grand total of about 35%. So 2/3 of Queenslanders are actually voting for people who support Adani, despite the belief among the inner city crowd that Adani is some sort of totemic issue that needs to be destroyed at any and all costs. I mean, this project deserves to be able to test its own economic merits. If it can build the economic case, then good on them and let them get on with it.
I love when we get common sense, Conroy. I like this. I like when, there's no Dastiari chat. It's common sense, and I like this. Now, can I show everyone, you're going to see climate protests on Friday. There's going to be a big UN meeting about climate change this week. That's why the protests, that's why the school strikes, all of that garbage. I want you to actually see what the demands of these protests are, OK? Have a look at these on the screen right now, which is no new coal, oil or gas projects, including the Adani mine. Well, too late. 100% renewable energy generation and exports by 2030. Now, remember, to get to 50% renewable energy under the shortened plan that was defeated at the election, that was about $60 billion in stuff you have to build to get there. And then the money keeps on coming. Fund a just transition and job creation for all fossil fuel workers and communities. Stephen Conroy, 1, 2, 3, impossible, impractical, expensive, but who cares, because they've got hashtags on their side.
Yeah, complete lunacy, Paul. I mean, those sort of policies would plunge our economy off a cliff. They would see prices to ordinary working Australians skyrocket, and they would cripple our productive capacity. I mean, that is a ludicrous set of claims, and it's time that anybody with common sense calls that out. I mean, Labor had a forward-leaning policy going into the last election, and again, we got, 33% of the primary vote, and the Greens got 9%. So that's 42% of Australians supported a forward-leaning position. and that's on its best day. But as you've seen from just this week, Mark Butler and the Labor Party is looking at this long and hard, and all the indications are they're going to move to a more practical policy in this area. But those sorts of claims, they just need to be confronted. They are insane claims, and people should say you are endangering jobs, you're endangering lives, because people won't be able to afford electricity. They'll be either too cold or too hot, depending on the time of year, and there'll be sickness come from them. This is a ludicrous set of policies.
Well, also what's worth noting here is, as you say, this calibration that Labor's doing, and it is fair. Look, they're the opposition. I noticed there was a Labor MP who's tweeting in the past couple of hours saying, you know, the obsession with Labor policy, we lost, we'll take our time. It's all a fair point, but it's about whether they get it or not. Now, Pauline, I want to show everyone what Anthony Albanese had to say today about climate change and about how they need to fiddle with their policies a little bit. But essentially, they'll fiddle, but they'll still be better than the government. Here's what Albo has said today.
Successful after the 2015 targets, the 15-year target ahead. By definition, that changes. But our resolve on climate change is very clear.
And you see, Pauline, this is the problem for Albanese. These protesters, rather than saying, you're all protesting and the 1, 2, 3 that we just showed you are impractical and will bankrupt the country, he still wants to basically sidle up to these people, even if he won't agree with all of their bad ideas. This is the problem here, where there is only one clear thing, and that's to say, look, you can believe in climate change, that's fine. Australia signed up to Paris. We're doing something about 27% emissions reduction. Australia is doing its bit. But every person who marches on Friday is marching in favour of 3 things that would destroy the country. But Albo won't say that.
You were so right, Paul. Look at who's leading the charge in Newcastle, a 15-year-old. How the hell would they know what is actually happening apart from what they've been brainwashed in the educational system by these teachers? And that's where it's starting. Malcolm Roberts constantly asks on the floor of Parliament for Greens to present the scientific facts to back up what they're saying. They won't present anything. He's asked Larissa Walters to actually debate him. She won't debate him. It's all fear-mongering. Of the carbon dioxide, the gases in the world, carbon dioxide is 0.04%. Of that, humans make 3%. Of that 3%, Australia contributes 1.3% of that 3%, which is next to nothing. So we've signed up to the Paris Agreement, which is in the long run destroying our industries, manufacturing, rising electricity costs. For what? Because the facts don't back up what they're saying. It's become such a political issue with not real hardcore science. So you've got some scientists that says it is, others that say no, it's not the case. Let's debate the issue, put the facts up before the people to make informed decisions, and not these kids out there pushing their own agenda who have no idea. And let's see the science, because years ago, changes have happened in the earth, whether it be glaciers, whether it be inland sea in Australia, you know, separation of the land from the mainland. This has all happened over time, before industrialisation, before humans were here. Can't you see this is all natural occurrences that is happening in our relation to the sun? So there's more in science, but I wish they would put that argument forward.